The Bitcoin rally fades as Bitcoin gets rejected from 64,000 bucks, now back down to 61,000. As we spoke about in yesterday's video, was very, very likely, but that was the easy part. Now comes the fun part, or the hard part, or the danger zone is what we'll actually put on today's clickbait title. But the main thing on today's video is going over the very specific number that, if met, if closed below, would indicate that Bitcoin is going much lower. And we can talk about targets on top of that, or you can reference Saturday's video. And of course, we'll be speaking about on the other side what to expect. Probably what's most likely in the short term here, if Bitcoin is going to indeed bottom and give, probably the next biggest opportunity within this within this current cycle. But before we get to that, I just want to let you know that if you did take the offer that we just had for the sale period for the Krown automation service, as well as all of our other services, I should let you know that Elsa's been completely inundated with emails recently, and she does request that you grant her just a little bit more time to get back to you. I promise that she will get back to you. She's very, very good at that. But there's just been a lot of people getting into the Krown automation server, which was great to see. Great to see, because I do think that is the ultimate way to trade. But it's a little bit overwhelming. Anyways, let's now get into the actual analysis of the day. So first things first, I want to reference today's daily statistics. We can see that Wednesday is basically a coin flip in whether it's likely to close positively or negatively. But what's most interesting about Wednesday is that it has the highest positive returns for those positive closing days. And on the negative return side, it's actually rather, it's a little bit on the larger side as well. The positive average return is about 3.5%. I think that's extremely unlikely that we're going to see that happen today, seeing as Bitcoin did open the day at 62,000 bucks, now trading below 61. And on the other side, we typically do see an average loss of 2% for the negative closing days, which today is very, very likely to be. So taking today's open and putting that into context, 2% down actually puts us pretty much where Bitcoin's low of the day is thus far. So if we are going to continue to see this this price consolidation turn into what I think most bulls hope, which is the next sort of major macro higher low, then we really wouldn't be expecting, too much of a major closure below that number. We would be expecting, moves to the downside below about 61,000 bucks as likely scalpable coming into today's closure, and Bitcoin, likely to just hold the range here as we kind of laid out over the past couple of videos. But, just for reference, again, Bitcoin's already hit that downside move. So theoretically, if we do see wicks further to the downside, closer to 60,000 bucks today, then should be a scalpable sort of opportunity here. But things are really, really close. Don't get me wrong. And Wednesday is actually one of the most volatile days for Bitcoin. In fact, it is the most volatile day for Bitcoin. So if there is going to be a big bad breakdown, today's probably the day, or at least the day that you'd see the beginning of that. And that's going to actually play heavily into the rest of this analysis, because when we go over here to the 5-day time frame, we can see that that Bitcoin is going to close a 5-day time frame today. And the reason why that is relevant is because, one, the 5-day stochastic oscillator is going to continue with its downside momentum after getting basically the double derp, the double negative DMI tick right here. Those are what those red dots are. As well as, basically a fresh cross down, rejecting the bullish control zone. Not good. That is going to continue to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 68,500. My main thing, especially in the short term for Bitcoin here, is that if you are bearish, you're really expecting Bitcoin to break down very much, most likely within these next 5 days. from today, like probably even starting today as well. This would be the time. This is the chance for the bears to actually really take the ball and run with it. And if there is going to be a breakdown, 5 days, 10 at most, but probably just this next 5 days is where you really be expecting to see this next sort of leg down, with Bitcoin staying well below 60,000 bucks. Another sort of very easy and simple way to be looking at this is actually routing over here with the 5-day time frame yet again, but just plotting a red moving average on this. Well, it's not necessarily because it's a red moving average, but it's a 5 exponential moving average, which is the red moving average that my cursor is currently tracing right now. And you can see that, generally when Bitcoin's above it, it's good to be long. When Bitcoin's below it, generally not good to be long. And in this case, you can see that Bitcoin lost that 5 exponential all the way back on over here on that first week of June, which is actually when we started to say, hey, Bitcoin coming back down to the low side of the range, this is going to take a lot longer. And Bitcoin has been living below it ever since. And actually with this current 5-day time frame, this is a rejection of that moving average yet again. So as long as Bitcoin's below it, it is still it is, it's still in the danger zone, as we'll say. That also means that as time progresses, if Bitcoin can actually pop back above that number, which is 62,850, again, pretty much where Bitcoin got rejected this week, that's going to be a pretty damn good indication that Bitcoin's ready for a greater rally. Not necessarily like a breakout to the upside from here, but, likely a rally back up to 66 or 67,000 bucks and really starts to, make this whole consolidation look like it is indeed the next sort of major macro higher low. But for right now, price is under pressure, and as long as that condition is met, we're going to be expressing that there is at least a concern for downside here, because probabilistically speaking, this would be the downside breakdown setup. If you're bullish, again, best case scenario is sideways for most of summer. The ship has sailed for any sort of major breakouts to new highs. Again, on that early June rejection, as we called out, for any time soon. So realistically, if Bitcoin is going to continue on with the overall bull market, we'd really be expecting that, August, probably late August, most likely September, I do think is best case scenario. So it does deserve, legitimate consideration that, if Bitcoin's going to break down, it's very likely to happen from here. You got momentum, you got trend, and you got all of the most simplistic tools going on right now. I also want to go over now very specifically on a daily time frame closing basis, what number that, if closed below, would be indicative that Bitcoin is getting this breakdown underway. It's pretty simple here. Just looking at the daily HPDR bands, we can see that the median is coming in where? 59,700 today on CME. Sorry, my voice kind of losing I'm losing a little bit today. Tomorrow we'll be back actually with another live stream, so gotta get it back up to good standing before then. But yeah, 59,700 is the median as of right now. If Bitcoin were to close below that today, that's a very clear and obvious signal that yes, Bitcoin is going to break down. It is in the process of breaking down to significantly lower prices. Again, reference Saturday's video for what my opinion is on the worst case scenario. I think a lot of people are going to be calling for probably 52,000 bucks, because that is where one of the major last breakouts was. Post speaking, I actually do think that things probably trade lower than there, probably trade into like the $47,000 range, if that happens. But still, my personal opinion is the same as it was before. Bitcoin's more likely to dig in here than not, but always have to consider the other side, as this is, again, probabilistically speaking, the most likely that scenario is going to happen as of now, as of this moment. Anyways, okay, let me just make sure that I hit my notes. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Yes, I do want to bring you to a few other things before we close this video, just because, I kind of want to strengthen my personal case, which is, Bitcoin's more likely to dig itself out of this mess right here. And it mainly has to do with traditional markets. If we go over here to NASDAQ futures, we can see just making new all-time highs. It is a holiday week after all. It is July 4th tomorrow. So happy July 4th to all of the celebrators out there in the world. Markets typically kind of float up during these times. This looks like it's going to again continue basically into the end of the year. The elections and whatnot, being a major proponent of that. Same thing with SPY futures. These are clean and clear, just continuations of trends. And just even notice that red 5 exponential moving average here, again, just kind of governing price action all the way on the way up. These traditional markets continuing to be strong is going to generally be a good backdrop for Bitcoin and cryptos in general. I think also it's worthwhile to check on some of the some of the other members of the big three, basically Solana and Solana, looking significantly strong in comparison to Bitcoin here as well. Actually about to close this next 5-day time frame above that 5 exponential. Now, of course, you have to ask yourself, if Bitcoin were to break down, would Solana likely hold it up here? No, very unlikely, but it probably wouldn't fall as much. I expect close to $100, $100 to 105 or some, if Bitcoin were to fail. But again, that would be another good thing in the background. But other than, and also Coinbase as well, as we pointed out yesterday, Coinbase can easily come back down and kind of retest the lows of, let's say, last week, closer to 210, 215 region, and still be on a higher low on the higher term time frame. So I do put a lot of weight on this, and you could also just look at this pullback as a gap fill here on not CME, but Coinbase. So You know, realistically, I do think that there's still more things in support that Bitcoin, you know, does dig in here, amongst many other things that we spoke about, you know, ad nauseum here. But this is technically the danger zone, and this is technically the time to be, you know, most defensive, I suppose, for Bitcoin as it kind of flounders about the $61,000 region. So do be aware of that. Do be aware of the 59,700 number right here below there on CME on a daily closing basis. My fucking throat's starting to get in the way again. Again, that is where problems are confirmed as far as I'm concerned. And and it rhymed, so it's good. It's really, really good. And again, just going back on over here, as long as Bitcoin's below that 5-day 5 exponential, you know, we have to consider, or at least I have to consider, as in this case, I'm putting on my analyst hat, that is a possibility here, you know, and in this case, actually kind of a rather strong probability. But yeah, I think I'll end things right there. A little bit of an earlier video today, but yeah, we'll end things right there. Be aware of that number tonight. Very, 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 very important, because if it is going to happen, very likely happens very, very soon. Like I said, this breakdown, if it's going to happen like this next 5 days, probably even starting today, if I had to guess. So yeah, we'll sign it off right there. Tomorrow, live stream times. Hopefully we have, you know, the next sort of puzzle piece in this massive ongoing puzzle to talk about something new. But yeah, see you there, or be square, or be there or be square. Yeah, be there or be, just fucking be there, or don't. Anyways, I'll sign off on that note. As always, I want to wish you the best bets. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time.